What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Dome. And today we're going to be talking about ESPN Redraft quarterbacks. So today we're just basically going to be going down the list of all the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and we're going to be ranking them based on exactly what we have 6 tiers here. Huge steal, underrated, just right, risky but upside, bad, and what are we doing? So basically, based on where each quarterback is being drafted, we will be putting them into the tier list. So this is not based on which quarterbacks are the best in the league. This is what quarterbacks would I be drafting in fantasy based on their ADP. So theoretically, a guy like, I don't know, Russell Wilson could be higher than Joe Burrow just based on the draft position. You draft him at 268. He's basically a free agent. But obviously that's probably not going to happen. But overall, if you guys like this kind of video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Trying to hit 25 subscribers by the end of the month. And yeah, I think let's get this started. So we're just going to go in order, and I think the first three are pretty obvious. At least I think that, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Josh Allen, they're the top three quarterbacks, and they're being drafted in the second to third round. I'd honestly put Jaden Daniels as a little bit underrated. I feel like he can be in that same tier as Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. So honestly, if you're planning on taking a quarterback in the top, I would take probably Jaden Daniels over those two. I also think that Jalen Hurts also should be in that tier wherever this guy is. Here he is. Jalen Hurts also should be in that just right tier. He's a late third to early fourth round pick. That's exactly where I pick him. He's not as good as Daniels, Lamar, or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. Mid fourth for Joe Burrow, though. I really like Joe Burrow as a player, but honestly, I am going to put him at a little bit of risky but upside, and this is because of his lack of rushing volume. If his receivers do get hurt and they lose that offensive production, or if he gets hurt, he had a really healthy season last year, but taking him in the mid-fourth, if you screw up that pick, there's definitely a risk to it. So overall, I do like Joe Burrow as a player this year, but there's definitely some risk to him when you can take quarterbacks that are a lot less risky later in the draft. Now we have a big fall off from these top four guys, and I'm going to put Patrick Mahomes in underrated. Now, I know he didn't have a great year last year, but we've seen in his MVP here, he can average 22 points a game quite easily in his MVP year a couple years ago. And you're going to get a guy like him in the mid-7th round. And also, I'm doing these round projections via a 10-man redraft league. So you're going to get him in the mid-7th round? I'll gladly take him there. But who I'd rather take is Baker Mayfield, who I think is going to be the first player in huge steal. People forget, Baker Mayfield was one of the best quarterbacks in the league last year. He had an unbelievable year for this. He was position ranked 4 last year in quarterbacks, and he's being drafted in the mid-7th round. His 2025 projected is way lower than it was last year. He's projected to take a 12 touchdown regression. Granted, 3 interception regression and rushing and about 100 yards rushing regression. I think that is completely idiotic. Baker Mayfield is a very, very, very good quarterback. Now we go into Brock Purdy. Didn't have an amazing season last year, being taken as a top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quarterback. I think I'm going to put him in just right. I think the team around him, when it's healthy, is one of the best rosters, if not the best roster in the NFL. And so overall, I feel like Brock Purdy being drafted as that fringe top 10 quarterback, he could even fall. I feel like that's right for him because he also has the rushing upside, not as much as some of the other guys, but he can be mobile. And he's going to have a ton of weapons. Brandon Ayuk is actually going to be healthy this year. George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings. Christian McCaffrey's hopefully going to be healthy. Overall, I really do like Brock Purdy at this ADP. Kyler Murray, I'm going to put also in kind of that just right tier. There's going to be a lot of players in that tier, I'll forewarn you. But ninth round, you can even put him in a little bit underrated. I didn't realize he's a ninth rounder. I'm going to put him in a little bit underrated just because of his overall rushing upside. And I think that if he can improve his game just like a little bit more, he's position ranked 10 last year. He's about probably the same this year, but he has a ton of rushing upside that can get him a ton of points. And so overall, I think that drafting him under guys like Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes, I feel like he can easily outscore them. You know, he outscored Patrick Mahomes last year. He outscored Brock Purdy last year. But overall, am I putting him in the top 8 rounds, 7 rounds? No, which is why I think it's a little bit underrated, but about the same. Bo Nix, I'm also putting it underrated. He was, top 10 quarterback last season, and that was with him struggling throughout the first bit of the season. You take out pretty much this entire 4-game stretch, he doesn't have a game under 12.5 fantasy points, which that's something that not even Josh Allen could say, because he had 11 points. He had 7 and 9 points. Bo Nix was super, super consistent last year. And if you're looking for consistency at the quarterback position, go no less than Bo Nix. And just at the same time, also Justin Herbert. He had a very underrated season last year, and a lot of people forget that. And drafting him under guys like Brock Purdy and Kyler Murray, I feel like he should be going over them. And I think that he's a little bit underrated. These two are quarterbacks that, yes, they did choke in the playoffs, and that's what a lot of people are going to remember, but they are also really, really good quarterbacks. So I think they're underrated based on where their positional value is. Caleb Williams as basically a top 10-ish quarterback. I'm honestly, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I am going to put him in the, where are you? Caleb, where are you, man? Does it not have the rookies in here? Yeah, there's Drake May, Michael Penix. Where is Caleb Williams? There he is. I'm putting him in bad. And here's why. Caleb Williams is a quarterback who, his team did get better. Yes, his weapons didn't get as much better. And he has a problem of, his offense was so unbelievably bad last year, and that is not just because of his offensive line. And if you're going to tell me that I think Caleb Williams is going to be a top 10, top 5 guy, I don't think so. And I think that there's guys like Drake May, Justin Fields, Jared Goff, even like guys like Stafford, Richardson, CJ Stroud, that I'd rather be taking than Caleb Williams at this point. And one of those guys is Drake May, who I think that while there's a lot of risk to Drake May, which is exactly why I'm going to put him in risky but upside, I'd rather take him than taking Caleb Williams, because Drake May has shown flashes of being an elite quarterback, and Caleb Williams has been put in a great situation and just has not lived up to it. So I'd rather take Drake May at this ADP than I will Caleb Williams. And then also, I'm going to put Justin Fields. Where are you? You are going to be right here. I'm going to put Justin Fields in the just right tier because he's got a lot of rushing upside, but the Jets are notoriously bad quarterback-wise, so taking him mid-11th, kind of in the late areas of your draft is like your backup quarterback. If you have a guy like Joe Burrow or even Brock Purdy, I would love to have Justin Fields as the backup. And that brings us into Jared Goff, who is also in the underrated tier. He's on one of the best teams in the league by a long shot. And once again, they're projecting him to regress by over 800 yards, 12 touchdowns, and basically the same amount of interceptions, but have more rushing. I think that with this offense that he has, there's no way he shouldn't be hitting similar numbers to what he did last year, or at least like half of it. People forget, he was a top 6 quarterback last year. If he even cracks 300, he'll be a top 10 quarterback. And to get him under guys like Drake May, Justin Fields, like, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough. Tua Tagovailoa, I'm going to put him in risky but upside because obviously there's a really big injury concern with him. His team is not as good as it used to be, and he missed a lot of games last year. However, I still think this guy on his day is a very, very good quarterback, and having him as my backup, I would not be mad in the slightest. And kind of the same way with Dak. People forget that Dak, not this past year, but 2 years ago, was, I think, a top 3 quarterback in fantasy. And he pretty much only had CeeDee Lamb. And he still pretty much only has CeeDee Lamb, except with a lot worse of an offensive line. If Dak Prescott can come back and have his healthy season, I think there's major upside to having him as a backup quarterback because he can turn into a really, really good quarterback. So, Dak Prescott here, I really like his position. JJ McCarthy is going to be the first player, wherever you are. I don't even know where you are. Are you not in this? JJ McCarthy might not actually be in this because he was hurt all last year. All right, JJ McCarthy is not in this, so I will use... Who do I want to use? I'll use Will Levis as JJ McCarthy because Cam Ward is going to be a guy. But JJ McCarthy, what are we doing, man? I think that JJ McCarthy over Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith. I think that literally all of these guys that I see below JJ McCarthy, I would rather have for this season. JJ McCarthy's coming off a major injury, and I didn't think he was that good to begin with coming out of college. And yeah, he has upside, but it's not an upside that I'm willing to take with a pick in my draft. I'd be willing to, pick him up off waivers if he has a good couple of games, but I'm not too in love with JJ McCarthy here. Jordan Love, I feel like this is just right for him. He definitely could be a really good quarterback. He was 17 position ranked last year, but that was based on his really, really bad end of the season. His beginning of the season, besides his injured games, he played really, really well. If he can keep that consistency throughout the entire year, maybe get one big target to throw to that isn't just like a bunch of wide receiver twos. I really like Jordan Love. Kind of the same with Matthew Stafford. I like him just where he is. Once again, really volume passing quarterback. And overall, I think that with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford is a lock to have pretty much like 10 to 15 fantasy points per game, despite not having a lot of rushing upside, because he gets a lot of passing yards. The next player we're going to be looking at is Michael Penix Jr., and I think I'm going to put him in risky but upside. He has the rushing upside. Once again, he has the injury concerns as well. Falcons aren't an amazing offense, but they do have a lot of good skill position players. And overall, Penix showed flashes. Am I willing to take him over some of these guys that are below? No. However, I think that it's not a bad idea to take him. CJ Stroud, I'm going to put in huge steal. I know he was disappointing last year. I get it. You drafted him as a top 5 quarterback. He turned out to be position rank 18. But there is still no doubt in my mind that CJ Stroud is an absolutely elite quarterback on this level. And to get him under guys like Anthony Richardson, I forgot to rank him, I will in a second, Matthew Stafford, Jordan Love, getting guys, CJ Stroud, if you're in a normal 10-team league, is going to hit waivers unless someone drafts him. Why not take a shot with him with your last pick, with the skill position player? Unless you have like a guy like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow, if you draft one of those mid quarterback ones, take a shot on CJ Stroud, because his rookie year, he was an easy start every single week. And, if he has a healthy team the entire year, I think that he could be a really big stud. And honestly, I'm kind of going with the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. Now, I know Trevor Lawrence was not amazing last year, and we're always kind of like, Trevor Lawrence hype's overrated. Trevor Lawrence hype's overrated. However, you look at what he did last year. Overall, he was not bad at all. And now he has Brian Thomas Jr. as that elite alpha number 1. I think that you can't not fade Trevor Lawrence. I think that once again, you have your last pick in the draft, CJ Stroud's off the board, take Trevor Lawrence as a shot. And I think that, it's a really good pick at the end of the day. maybe even pick them up off waivers. But once again, these guys, based on their ADP, they could easily be top 10 guys this year. But they could also be pretty bad. But with the last pick in my draft, I'm taking one of them. I forgot about Anthony Richardson. I'm going to put him in risky but upside. Kind of the story of his career is risky but upside. Anthony Richardson has a lot of good traits, but his completion percentage is not there. And overall, whatever. Anthony Richardson. Now, all these other quarterbacks that we're going to be talking about are pretty much like not even in the realm of being drafted. So, who would I be willing to take a shot on? Not many of these guys. Maybe I do like Russell Wilson. I'm just going to go through the rest of these because none of these guys are getting drafted. Who would I take as the last quarterback in my draft? So, I guess here, let's add a row below this. And we'll say last pick. I think that Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, I think that Bryce Young, and I think that Russell Wilson are the 4 quarterbacks that out of all the quarterbacks, they're people who I would take with the last pick. And overall, I think that, once again, these guys are guys that have upside, that could turn out to be really, really good starters, but aren't projected to be drafted. And, I would take a shot on some of them with the last pick, unless CJ Stroud or Trevor Lawrence are still on the board. So, this is my tier list of the redraft fantasy football quarterbacks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, once again, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.